Hello, and welcome to Digital Decode with Qhala. My name is Laura Walubengo, and I am your host for this podcast, where we'll be diving into anything that has to do with technology in Africa. The aim of this podcast is for us to be able to decode anything that's happening digitally on the continent. As you know, the future of this continent is steeped in technology, and so you better be listening. What we're trying to do here is make sure that you're enlightened and inspired. Hello and welcome once again to another episode of Digital Decode. And Digital Decode, as the name suggests, is decoding anything that Qhala does, which is your data science and analytics for this specific episode, where we'll be talking to a data engineer by the name of William Munguti. Welcome, William.
Thank you.
It's like almost a tongue twister. Welcome, William.
Well, thank you.
So please introduce yourself. Tell us what you do at Qhala.
Thanks. Actually, glad to be here today. My name is William. I'm William Munguti. I'm a data engineer here at Qhala. I'm not here. Well, I'm just used to saying it here because, in terms of intro. But yeah, I'm a data engineer. And just as the name says, I deal with data and some sort of engineering. So some bit of it, because I can say it's data engineering is sort of a mixture of both data and some aspects of also of software engineering. So data engineer, the name. Yeah.
So when you say, as some of us, we have no idea. If somebody tells you they're a writer, you can understand that. Data speaks for itself. Yeah. But if you say the aspect of software engineering, could you explain that a little bit?
So data engineers, we deal mostly, the aspects of software engineering is the fact that we also deal with databases. So we can do things with designing databases, also coming up with schemas, and on top of that, making the database more optimized in terms of ensuring that queries are fast and efficient. And also on top of that, we also do some aspects of DevOps. So DevOps is this has to do with things with the cloud infrastructure mostly. Yeah. Okay. So when I say it's and on the data side is we can also do data analysis and also not only data analysis, also business analyst as a business analyst. And so yeah, it's actually a mix of data and software at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, a data engineer makes sure that they come up with software for data to be properly used.
No. So
okay.
I mean, you're close. But so what we do is we ensure that, one, the data that will be ingested by a developer is in the right format. And two, it's also it's not only in the right format, but it can be consumable by a system whenever it's sitting in a database. So for you, it's just to make sure that when they go, they align. Zinaingiana, rather, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's two vocabularies you use, though, that maybe you can break down. You said something called schema, and you talked about queries. Maybe you can break that down.
So for the schema, you can look at it in terms of a blueprint. So a blueprint of a building kind of tells how the data will be structured, how the building will be structured, right? So when it comes to when you talk about a schema, so that schema will be able to just tell you how the data will be sitting in a database. So in terms of like a user, you'll be able to see that a user will have this and this and these fields, and using through those fields, you can see that the user will be able to be connected with another entity within the database with something we call foreign keys. So yeah, it's
I'm going deeper into this one.
We're going to be more not trying to be more technical, but yeah, it's the most simple thing that we can say. It's a connector.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe another way that I can understand what you do is maybe if you explain to me, give me an example Yeah. So as a data engineer, what are some of the projects maybe that you work on?
Huh. So I've worked on a couple of projects, but the major one that honestly has had a lot of data engineering, I can say, is the project called SEMA. And SEMA has had a lot of data engineering because for us to be able to come up with the final, I don't know if it's possible to be also be able to share the dashboard, maybe at the end. But if you look at the dashboard, you'll be able to see that it has a lot of data points that are being shown on the dashboard. But for us to actually be able to get those data points to have them in that presentable way, we've actually gotten data from like 3 different sources. So getting data from 3 different sources. So this is actually what we call in data engineering. We use a concept called ETL: extraction, transformation, and loading of data. So this is the extraction of data, where we extract it from different sources. So it can actually be sitting somewhere in a database. So you'll use the use of APIs, application program interfaces. So they just provide a gateway for where you extract data from the database. On top of that, there's another form of extraction which we do, which is web scraping. So we actually scrap data from the internet through using a web crawler. So you actually write a script for you to be able to tell the web crawler that get me this and this and this and this and this from this page. And once you get it, bring it, change it to a form that we can be able to consume it, and then now dump it in this database. So that's literally what we've been in the project of SEMA. It has a whole ETL pipeline where we extract data from different sources, and having data from different sources, you know that one, they have different formats. So we have to transform it to a format that will be able to match and align from all the different sources. And then after doing that is now, you can't add a database in a common data in a common database, and they have different formats. You won't be allowed by the database itself. So having to make sure it's in the right format is the only way that it can be able to be stored in that database.
Okay.
And in the end, after the transformation, now the loading it, and now the loading it is where you're able to see it as visuals or graphs and representations on a dashboard. So yeah, that's basically data engineering.
Okay.
Yeah. Hope now it's you're not too lost on it.
No, I'm not too lost. No, I'm getting it. So you've extracted this data, and then you've loaded it onto this database. So and then what? So how would I get involved, or what are some of the clienteles that you have that would probably interact with this database, and why?
So for that, I'm going to stick to the using SEMA as an example, because SEMA is like I said, it's pretty much has all this. And so what we'll do is, when the data sits there, there's a whole lot of stakeholders that will want to know, like, how is the county doing? Because basically SEMA, what it talks about is having to see how different counties are performing against different data points or different indicators. So just being able to extract data and having it in that form, you can be able to actually compare the performance between different counties. You can be able to see the performance between, for example, Kilifi and Nandi County, which actually brings me to a project that we did, not including SEMA, that we actually did like a whole ETL for we had to extract data, transform it, and then in the end had to come up with what can I say, with visualizations, with graphs, with line graphs, all sorts of graphs, to just be able to show how is Kilifi County doing. And we actually were able to do such a project, and it was actually successful, because the county governor was able to see how well the county is doing, and probably also the places that need to be, what can I say, to be concentrated on, Yeah, and they need more to invest more on those areas.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this particular project, what is it called?
So it was a partnership between a company called Open Institute and us Qhala. So yeah, we were just doing analysis for two different counties, which was Nandi County and Kilifi County. But the most recent one was the one for Kilifi County.
So how does Qhala use data analytics to help companies with their business strategies? So for example, in this case, Open Institute.
Yeah. So for how we can be able to do that is one, when you have data and you just not looking for anything from the data, you won't be able to see like any sort of trends or any sort of I mean, the data won't be able to speak unless we sit down with the owners of the business, and they just have to tell us like they have to tell us their pain points. Like for example, for like for the project of for Nandi and Kilifi County, like they just had this data sitting, and they weren't able to know like there's this disease that is more prevalent in this area, and there's this other disease that is less prevalent in this area. So we, in terms of that, you can actually be able to see how we can tell the county to put more money or to actually have to budget more for this specific disease. That way you can see like, oh, maybe it's something it's a waterborne disease, or it's something, it's a airborne disease. So at least they'll be able to know that one, we need to have proper sanitation in these areas, because we're seeing that that the waterborne diseases are more prone than any other kind of diseases. So being able to know that, you can be able to identify that one, we need to work on our water sanitation and cleanliness in general for the county when the water supply is being done. Yeah.
I think I'm privy to the fact that you're working on two other projects. So one is an LLM and LLM, tongue twisters, and then another one is called Atunze. Maybe you can give me a bit of information about both.
Yes, so for the LLM, so LLM in full is a large language model. So for large language models, they normally use what we call just natural language, literally speaking, texts, any form of, you can say, language, spoken text or even written text. And so the LLM is actually what we're currently working on. It's a speech to text model. So it's capable of speech to text in different languages. So currently, what we're currently working on, it's a kind of we want to really be able to accommodate our local market, in short, Kenya, but possibly the vision is to have the whole of Africa. But yeah, we see that a lot of LLMs are made by, different countries, big countries, and they'll always, of course, they're working, there's their projects, so mostly they'll incorporate the what do I say? Languages, their languages. So you can see clearly that them being they incorporate their own languages, you actually have a big gap of incorporating our local languages, Kikuyu, English, not English, Kikuyu,
But I guess also how we speak English.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
I'm thinking the times when maybe I speak to my remote so that it searches on YouTube and then it gives me something, but I did say that.
Yeah.
So for it to be able to understand me.
Exactly. Yeah. You actually, it's like you're in this LLM field. Yeah. But clearly, we're actually working on it to properly understand our accents. Because, accents are different. If you hear someone from Zimbabwe speaking English and someone from Kenya speaking English, there'll be some sort of accents and differences in how they pronounce words. So in the context of our LLM, we're actually training it to understand more of our Kenyan accent and being able to also train it to understand our other local languages, Kikuyu. Very soon you'll actually be having the LLM being able to speak to you back in your
Bukusu.
Bukusu. Yes. In
The question is,
Bukusu.
will I understand? Will I be able to speak to it in English that it talks to it in Bukusu?
Yeah,
Okay.
we can actually be able to do
So
that.
if I go, let's say I use, I don't know how the LLM will present itself. So that if I go maybe, I guess something like Google Translate, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So if I go to Shags and I want to do an interview there and I don't have the funds to employ a translator, and maybe this guy is talking some very deep Bukusu, it'll be
Yeah.
able to
Yep.
talk.
Clear. Very
Very good.
well.
Very good.
So it's
Uh-huh.
work in progress and looking to honestly to have it out there so that people can use it.
How long does something like that take? Like, I mean, if, for example, and you're not just focusing, I guess, on Swahili or Kikuyu, like you say.
Yeah.
But if you're focusing on all these languages, what kind of time frame are we looking at?
Honestly, it's
Even
hard.
if you're using as many web
It's-
crawlers as you want.
It's hard to determine because one, you can see we're actually doing something new. So one, we'll have to start with data collection. So that means getting audio data and having, on top of having the audio data, we must have that audio data transcribed. And after transcribing, it has to be translated in English. So it's actually a lengthy process. And there's also this thing that we call fine-tuning the model and training the model. That actually takes the longest time. No, it's data preparation. Data preparation, having it in the right format, making sure that the data is clean, and then now training the model. And then on top of training the model, it's usually just not like a walk in the park. You're going to have to train it, evaluate it, look at the model performance. On top of that, you have to test different forms of model evaluation to just see how the model is really performing. And honestly, there's the performance of an LLM, we use something called word error rate, and the word error rate has to be as low as 5 for it to be considered accurate.
Okay, so I've just given an example of somebody I would want to interview because I like to do interviews.
Yeah.
But why would you do something? Why would you come up with a different language model?
Well, we mean come up with a different language model.
Yeah, like why are you doing this project? Why is it important for my remote to understand my accent?
Well, for me, honestly, it's just to break down communication barriers. Because I mean, not having communication is one of the biggest problems. So rather, what it was used to be said kitambo, when you were reading ilikuwa, what's it called? Communication barriers used to be the biggest problem those times. So
Yeah.
just imagine having to eliminate communication barrier. Not only can we communicate directly like this, even talking, we can even be able to translate a lot of things. Like for example, you see, you mentioned about the Atun AI, which we're going to revisit on that on top. But a direct application of that is one, we can be able to actually. So what the Atunzi AI does actually, before I get to that, is it's a maternal care bot, or can I say agent, that enables you to communicate with communicate with it, and it actually gives you pointers to mothers, to new mothers, or can I say to mothers in general. Yeah. So they can be able to just talk to the bot, and the bot will give them an answer of the question that they have. Like for example, if they want to know what happens in the 6th week of pregnancy, the model can actually do that. So you just imagine someone in a remote location actually wants to be able to use such a tool, and then the English is not that good. Like they're trying to find a way to say something in English, but them being not being very learned, they might have using the such an LLM in combination with that Atunzi AI, it will actually make it better for them to be able to communicate how they're feeling or whatever they have in their own language, and this will be directly translated to English, of which the model is already accurate in English, really good in English. So it will be able to understand it from that local language, which will be then translated to English and then fed to the model. And the model will now be able to give back the information in a better, with a better understanding. Yeah.
Okay, so that's very interesting. I mean, Atunzi AI, okay, when you were talking, I wanted to ask you why you had to develop one, but then you spoke about somebody in Shags using it, and it made a lot of sense. So tell me a bit more about Atunzi. How long has it been in existence? How can somebody access it if they want to use it?
So Atunzi has been for a couple of months now. It has when it was being released out there. So it's actually in form of like WhatsApp bots. The way that you enter a number, or you can actually we'll provide a QR code that you can scan, that you'll be able to interact with the Atunzi. So when you just scan, I mean, we actually chose to have it in WhatsApp because it seems better. I mean, more reachable to the audience.
Okay.
And I think also on top of that, we're also working on having it in SMS. So that will cater for people who don't have WhatsApp or don't have smartphones. So it's just literally like a question and answer thing. So you just ask it a questions related to maternal health.
Okay.
And it will actually have an answer for that. May it be generalized, or you can actually decide it to give it. You can actually ask it to give you more in-depth explanations. But for that, we actually need more data to train it to become like more of an expert in its field. So it's still being refined, and I think it's going to be better with time.
So where have you released it?
It's on WhatsApp, and it's readily available even right now. You can just
So if I Google Atunzi and then
no, actually it's not. You can't get it when you Google, but because it's a number. It's like a WhatsApp number that you have to interact with. So that when you have the QR code, when you have the QR scan, the code, you'll just scan it, and it will open to you the number of the Atunzi on WhatsApp, and you can save it, or you can save it and then just be interacting with it anytime.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you started learning data engineering, did you ever think that something like Atunzi would be would come on your path?
Honestly, I've always had interest in AI. Because I'm a data engineer, but nimeshajirusha pande za AI. Yeah, so in the end, I had an interest, but honestly, I never thought I would actually be working with AI like in Kenya this soon. Maybe in the next couple of years, but the AI is just, it's like it's just exploded in Africa, and now everyone is incorporating an AI, and now I've been able to use AI, honestly, or even be involved in development of one, which has been an awesome experience. And honestly, I never saw it coming, but I'm glad it's here.
But as a data engineer, how does that equip you to sort of understand the AI technology and make use of it?
As a data engineer, one, I never mentioned it, but when we prepare data to make sure that it's in a consumable format, not only should it be consumable by the people, the developers, what we call front-end engineers and also back-end engineers. Not only that, but we also make sure the data is in the right format, that data scientists, of which also AI engineers can do that. So we actually have to make sure the data is in the right format that we'll be able we can be able to train AI models. So for us, our big role is being able to make that data and make sure it can be consumed by the model and train the model and make it better.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've spoken about AI and you've spoken about data analytics. What kind of ethical considerations? Because I know when it comes to ethics, people are very wary about AI. What kind of ethical considerations do you have to make or do as you go along with the work?
In terms of the data, because there's
Yeah,
the ethical
I think usually the
considerations.
reservation is in data collection and data usage, and you don't know how much of your data is going to be out there. Yeah.
So I can say one of the biggest ethical considerations is the issue on privacy. So one, well, so in handling data, of course, you have to ensure the privacy, and on top of privacy, you also have to ensure anonymity. And so in relation to this, you can actually imagine like you've trained an AI model with this data, and maybe in the beginning you hadn't considered the issue of privacy, and you still train the model with data, with the private data. So you just imagine if the model has the ability to actually say names and remember names, so it will be like, this is the case of this is also the same case that we saw using maybe Laura. Laura, and this is also pretty much the same case as that. So in terms of that, you can actually see that one, you have to consider issues of privacy. Because let's say if you have a model and that model has capability to actually talk about issues on private data, that's going to be an issue to people. So you have to consider issues of privacy, issues on safekeeping data. So not only ensuring that there's privacy, there's also the anonymity part. I mean, maybe some aspects a model has to like understand that we're talking about a male or a female. So just having to ensure that there are no identifiers like names, phone numbers, and such things will ensure that there's privacy in your data is maintained private. Yeah.
Okay. So, okay, when it comes to now the analytics and the AI side of things, why would somebody work with Qhala?
So for us, you can say honestly, we've had a good like we have a wide a big team, a big team of different people who have come honestly from different backgrounds, and we just find themselves as data engineers, as data scientists, people to do data. So for me, I can say we have a wide pool of people that will offer different expertise, not only in terms of the data itself, but also in terms of your business itself. Like you as a business, what's your problem? I mean, just having that much experience and having many different, like a wide pool of experts, we can be able to give different solutions in different angles that is diverse. Yeah, and on top of that, we can say we're good at what we do.
I think I've learned most of what I've learned when it comes to AI with you guys. So, for your case now, if somebody wants to study to be a data scientist or a data engineer, how would you advise them? What would you guide them to do?
Firstly, just start somewhere. But yeah, but starting somewhere is just have the curiosity. Honestly, like I said, have the curiosity. Like I said, personally, I didn't start as a person in data, but I did develop that curiosity of data because originally I was a software engineer. But I honestly just developed the curiosity of data, and I just wanted to learn more about it. So that's when I just started. There's this site called Data Camp. So you use Data Camp. It's a free online resource that you can use for learning data. You'll just start from the basics, honestly, learning from the very scratch, understanding what data is, the data types that you're going to deal with, and then going up, starting by learning Python, which is the main language that we use for data, of course. Not the only one, but it is the industry standards that is used for data. You start learning Python basics, going up all the way to learning flow control. On top of that, now you start learning to use tools like Power BI. Not only Power BI, like we have so many open source tools that you can use out there. And on top of the tools, you also have libraries for the languages that like I said, Python, and also have another one called R that is also used for data. So they'll also provide languages for you to be able to create these beautiful visualizations that you see on dashboards. So yeah, you really have to start from scratch all the way to learning basics of data and going all the way up to going to working with models, the AI models, which there are many types of models. So you just need to get your hands dirty and just start from somewhere until you become an expert.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I can wind up by asking you this question. What do you think how do I put it? What difference do you feel that you are making as a data engineer, let's say in how things happen in Africa and how things happen in Kenya? What kind of difference do you think you're making to society?
Honestly, not one. I can list all of them. For me, I like the fact that one, with the projects that I've actually been able to be engaged in, like for example, the data for Kilifi County and Nandi County, like being able to see like the county, those county heads, the leads within the county, like being able to see like, so this is where we actually are at as a county in the health and education sector, because we were analyzing both sectors for health and education. Like just them being able to see like, we have a gap in this and these areas, because we also do the geospatial mapping. So on top of geospatial mapping, at least you can be able to see that at this certain area has this amount of facilities. So just being able to see them, seeing that realization, like, I mean, they might have an idea, but if you don't have that information visualized, they can't really be able to see the impact of it. So just being able to help like such people to be able to see how their county is doing, or like where they will be concentrating on more. Like it's really awesome to know that you're helping to make some impact out there. And on top of that, now if we go to the LLM side, like it will be nice being able to know that there are individuals who, I mean, maybe they're not learned enough to understand like some terms in English or Swahili, but if they can be able to understand like such serious terms or such educative things through their own language that they'll understand better, for me, I think we're making Kenya, the world, a better place.
I think so. I
Yeah.
think so too.
Yeah.
I think so too. Thank you very much for your work.
Thank you.
I think I'll have to come and sit with you and learn a bit more. But thank you for your time today. And I hope to chat to you soon. I think you need to show me about the Tunzi.
Yeah, we will. We will.
Cheers,
And
thanks.
probably also have a couple of sessions in learning and teaching you more about LLMs.
And I don't want to be. I don't want to develop anything. But so
yeah.
thanks so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you.
Right.
Yeah.